Next, on this episode of The Nice Guys on Business.
See, as Americans, we get bombarded with advertisement. We get bombarded with, you should get a newer car. You need a bigger house. You gotta. Now, there is a thing to upgrade your lifestyle. No doubt. You can absolutely step up your lifestyle. But it should not be that when you earn more, you spend equivalently more.
Right.
Your spending should be what your spending is.
Mm-hmm.
So when you earn more, decoupled from spending, you could and should save more.
Agreed.
And then consciously decide if you want to spend that extra on Oriole playoff tickets, or if that new car is really something you want to add to your, we spend this much. And if you kind of live that way, what we find is people save dramatically higher percentages of their ongoing future income, which is freedom.
The first rule of Fight Club is, do not talk about Fight Club or The Nice Guys on Business. Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys on Business is produced by Turnkey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
All right, nice guy community. Now check this out. You can take the boy out of Baltimore, but you can't take Baltimore out of the boy. Now, I probably ran into Leonard Raskin, our guest today, many times, and I'm confident we ran in a lot of similar circles growing up in the Baltimore area, with one exception. Leonard is much smarter than I am.
Please.
He's the founder of Raskin Global. Leonard wrote the book and the subsequent podcast, and How to Protect, Grow, Enjoy, and Transfer Your Wealth. We'll talk about the title in just a moment, but let's do this. We're going to talk all things money today. Leonard, welcome to the podcast.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me, Doug. How are things?
Things are great. Now, look, I'm an East Coast boy that's turned West Coast boy. You never got out of Baltimore. Why'd you stay?
I didn't. I was not able ever to escape. So born and raised, and the way Baltimore is, we call it Smaltimore. 3 degrees of separation. Everybody knows your mother.
Yep.
Everybody knows somebody, and it's crazy. But born, raised, live, and now live 20 minutes ish from where I grew up, and stayed here. Family here. Went to school locally. Growing up, the deal was we were. So this is my thing. I just say we were so poor we couldn't pay attention. So grew up relatively poor. Lived in apartments in Randallstown and loved it. Had lots of friends. One of the advantages looking back and thinking about life and now my son, I have a son who's 22. I grew up in an apartment complex with hundreds and hundreds of apartments. And so friends were plentiful. I mean, we knew everybody, and the community pool and the community tennis court and the community playground, and growing up with the neighborhood kids, it was just amazing. And it was a blast. And so almost everybody I grew up with stayed reasonably local. And my mother lives 5 minutes from where I grew up. She moved out of that apartment and lives in a condo in Pikesville, which is literally 5 minutes away. And I moved 20 minutes away and live out a little bit more in the burbs and have a home and a little bit of land. And my son growing up, he had friends in the neighborhood, but it was not the same at all. The experience was totally different for him growing up. Friends were play dates and school friends and things, outside extracurricular friends. But I had, we rode bikes around the neighborhood and big wheels around the neighborhood and just stayed local. So here's home. And it's really hard to escape. And the other part of it is then you get a little older and graduate from school, went local to college. And then you meet her or him, and, in my case, her, and she's local. And so combined, there's nowhere to go. It's not like I met a gal at, when I was at school in Arizona and moved there. It's I stayed here and we stayed here.
Where's your wife from? Is she from Randallstown or is she from a surrounding town?
She actually grew up in Rising Sun, North Baltimore.
Wow.
North Baltimore. up 95.
We didn't even know anybody in Rye. That was like the other
No.
side of the earth. And I'll
It
tell you,
is the other side of the earth.
probably where you moved 20 minutes from where you were was probably farmland when we were growing up, because
It was absolutely. Let me tell you, when we were growing up, I'm sure you remember the Hunt Valley Mall was way out there, way out there. And so I had an office in Timonium, and started the company, had an office in Timonium, and was looking for a place to live reasonably close. I left Randallstown, moved to Timonium, had an office in Timonium, and then started looking at places. And Hunt Valley now had a road past it and homes past it, and there was land out here. But yeah, everything when we were growing up, where I live today, was literally a farm. It was a sheep farm, and that was it.
It's so funny. I have very similar story. We traveled in parallel lines together, apart but together at the same time.
Yeah.
Grew up in Falstaff Manor apartments, then Pickwick Apartments, where I lived most of my childhood. Then we moved to Annan Woods. My mom did the condo thing also, and she's still there in the house that we bought in 1976. She's 91 years old. God bless her.
Oh my God, my mother's 85. So yeah, same deal.
Same idea.
And then moved out to the burbs. And, when I told my mother where we were buying a home, she said, "Oh my God, I'm going to have to pack a lunch to come see you." It was so far out. But my sister, I have a sister that lives in Owings Mills, older sister, and a younger sister that lives in New Jersey. So I was closer than the New Jersey sister.
Amazing.
But she thought we were so far away. And now it's just, so what? It's nothing. She comes, she goes, whatever.
Well, what's so interesting about both of our upbringings and the way that we were kind of raised. We were raised in that community environment, and I could not imagine. You are in the time that we have known each other for the last many months, and you've been a turnkey client and valuable client. Your personality is infectious. It's like anybody that I've listened to on your podcast, it's obvious within 12 seconds the connection that you make with that guest. Do you think that is, we're not talking your business yet, but we are talking your business.
Yeah.
Is that a reason for the level of success that you've been able to attain, is that connection and community?
I think it is, absolutely. I think has a big bearing, because one of the things that I tell people, one of the first questions I ask somebody when they come to see me is, first of all, why are you here? Mm-hmm. So we do money. As you said, we do everything money, from budgeting to protecting, insuring, saving, growing, investing, spending, and then where you leave it, who you leave it to. And I ask people, why are you here? And I get all kinds of answers as to why they're there. And then I say to them, this is what I've been doing now 37 years. And my goal is to help you have all the things you want, all the opportunities you could want out of your money, implementing all of my wisdom, but without my baggage. So whatever I want for my money doesn't matter. It's how do I do my brains on your money? And I think it disarms people. I don't have anything to sell. My world is on a fee-based consulting basis. So if you want to work with me, we meet, we engage, we find out about who you are as a person. Mm-hmm. And one of the things, I don't say this, but here's the vibe. Here's what comes out. We got to break bread. I got to be willing to invite you to I'm wearing my Raven shirt today. I got to be willing to invite you to my tailgate with my friends, family. I got to be willing to have you come to my home and swim in the pool and hang out for a barbecue. And, somebody said to me a long time ago, this is probably 20 years ago, they said, do not invite any clients to your home. And this was the reason they gave. This was somebody who was senior to me at the time, probably gray hair like I am today. And they said, some clients will think your house is too small, and other clients will think your house is too big. And so don't take people to your home. And my philosophy is, this is my house. This is where I live.
Right.
If we have a barbecue and an open house and people come and think it's too big or too small, then they'll have to share that or not share that. But that's not my thing.
Right.
I didn't buy a house for them. I didn't buy it to impress them. I bought it because I love the neighborhood, the fact that we got some ground, we can let the dog run, the kid run, we have a pool, and we got a nice house. It's a larger house than I ever dreamed I could have ever afforded in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, by today's standards, it's not a big house.
It's funny. You're a money guy, but money is not the emphasis. You're more of you're like a dream guy. You're like a plans guy. And
Exactly.
and while money is the tool, money is not money is the vehicle. Money is not the necessary. It's just the thing that it has to be because that's how it is. But
that's right.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah. The way we exchange for what we want in our life in this world that we live in today is money. So I got to help people learn how to use it most efficiently and effectively to get the things they want out of it. And then ultimately how the taxes work on it, how people take it, try to take it, how to protect it, how to grow it. Most importantly, how to enjoy it, how to use it for the things you really want. Like you said, the dreams, the American dream. How do I help you have all that you want so you could have all the money you could ever have, spend and enjoy all of it on whatever you want, charity, family, kids, parents, siblings, spouses, girlfriends, boyfriends, cars. I don't care. It's not what I want to spend it on. It's what you want to do with it. How do you want to enjoy it? And then make sure that you never run out. And that no matter what happens, this plan about your money works. And I have people, for instance, say to me, well, I hear on the radio, the TV, the world's ending, the presidential election, there's strife, there's war everywhere. I should buy gold. I hear all the time, I should buy gold, or I should have crypto. I should have crypto and gold. Okay, great. So I say to people, let me ask you this. The people hawking the gold, the people telling you should buy gold because the world's going to end.
Right.
How do you buy the gold? You give them dollars.
Right.
So if the world was going to come to an end and the only thing you should own is gold, why would they sell you their gold for your dollars? Wouldn't they hoard the gold?
I would think.
I think they would keep the gold. So I look at the logic of their world's ending buy gold and say, why are you selling gold for dollars? And then I say to somebody, local Baltimore, giant food.
Mm-hmm.
The world comes to an end and you have gold. Can you take that to the giant and get milk and bread and toilet paper? Or gold does not spend.
No, not well.
So you think the world's coming to an end, you need gold. Okay, maybe. What I really need is something the guy down the street that shears sheep and will slaughter a sheep and give me meat is willing to take for that meat. I don't think he's going to take gold because he can't do anything with it. I don't know. So I talk in logic and I talk in dreams and I talk in desires, and people get that I'm just real. That's what it's about.
Have you been and I talked about this recently. I had Sean Maloney, who is another client of ours that are a very similar business, talk to Sean about just about budgeting and how budget can be viewed a couple ways, as control or as freedom.
Yeah.
And I look at budget as freedom. I don't look at budget as control. I'm just curious what your spin is on a budget or on dollars or in spend. You just tell me. I'm going to say the word budget. You go.
It's great. I think budgeting doesn't work. I think it ties people up and it gets them angry because they think I blew my budget. What the hell now? Or I'm like my diet. I should be better on my diet. So diets don't work. Budgets don't work. To me, that's the same thing. And here's where I look at spending. I think this is paramount. This is something I don't think we've ever talked about, but it's something that we talk to our clients about all the time. You spend what you want to spend for the life you want. Okay.
Correct.
Here's my goal for my people I work with. Let's suppose I make $80,000 a year. Nice, easy, middle class, kind of number. I make $80,000 a year. And I live pretty comfortably. I'm doing okay, and we're saving a little.
Mm-hmm.
Why, if I make now 100 because I got 20 grand in raise over the time, should I spend more? See, as Americans, we get bombarded with advertisement. We get bombarded with, you should get a newer car. You need a bigger house. You gotta. Now, there is a thing to upgrade your lifestyle. No doubt. You can absolutely step up your lifestyle. But it should not be that when you earn more, you spend equivalently more.
Right.
Your spending should be what your spending is.
Mm-hmm.
So when you earn more, decoupled from spending, you could and should save more.
Agreed.
And then consciously decide if you want to spend that extra on Oriole playoff tickets,
Mm-hmm.
or if that new car is really something you want to add to your, we spend this much. And if you kind of live that way, what we find is people save dramatically higher percentages of their ongoing future income, which is freedom, which then, if they choose, they can incrementally increase their spend. But I have doctors that I work with who were living really fine as a resident at, let's say, a married couple, $100,500 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 years later, they're making $600,000 and they have no money.
Isn't that amazing?
And I have residents that I worked with that were making $150,000 couple. And a few years later, they're making $600,000 and they're saving $250,000 a year. Putting that away, knowing that someday they won't be a doctor anymore, and they want to have real estate and businesses and millions of dollars, and they're fine living the way they live. They have a new home, they have a new car, but they're not spending that extra $250,000 a year.
Right.
And
What's the difference between that first guy and the second guy? Is it just in perspective and lifestyle, or what is the difference?
It's some perspective. It's lifestyle. It's that I met the residents after they were residents when they started making a lot of money and they were already spending it.
Yeah,
they bought a $1.8 million house and a second home at the beach rather than buy a $700,000-$800,000 house and settle in and be comfortable for a little while and travel a little bit. And yeah, you might want that house at the beach. Let's hold off. Let's just see where it fits for a little while. Let's have discipline to save and invest and see if it's really something you want, or if you're locking yourself into crazy expenses you're going to have a hard time getting out of.
Do you find that the lottery mentality is what drives those people that went from 150 to 600 the next year, because they now have a little bit more of a cushy job and a lot more income coming in the door, and they find that they're spending the money because it's like go crazy?
Yeah, to a degree. I think it's also somewhat how you were raised. And what you lived with. And
my mom was 800 or more credit score, always have money in your checking account, never pay for something on credit that you can pay cash for. I mean, and that's why I've become what I've become. Not saying that I'm like Mr. Moneybags, but at the same time.
Exactly. There's good debt and bad debt. And a lot of people have a lot of both.
Yeah.
But high credit score, money in reserve, real estate's great. Mortgages are okay, but credit card debt and big bills and some of it, some of these people, they move into a neighborhood and they got to keep up with the Joneses. They can't drive the Toyota Camry that they had or Corolla that they had. They got to get the newest Tesla or the $100,000 Porsche, whatever SUV.
It's the funniest thing. I see people driving these $125,000 cars, and I'm just like, are you kidding? That guy's got an $1,800 car payment because he didn't pay cash for the car.
We grew up with the Brady Bunch,
Right.
And they had a nice little house, right?
Station
but when
wagon.
you go to the Hollywood set, it's a facade.
Yeah.
So these people are going out to dinner all the time, and they're hosting big parties at their house, and everything's glamour and glitz. And like you said, they're driving the Mercedes this and the Porsche that. And when I see their balance sheet, they have no money.
Mm.
And I said, what are you doing? Who are we? We're keeping up with the Joneses. We got to have that facade of who we are.
But what's interesting is, and maybe Leonard, you see more of it than I do, so correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe that they truly don't believe that they are living that lifestyle. I think that nobody comes in and says, I know I'm spending too much on my car, and I know I got these two houses and I shouldn't have these houses, and I know that I'm spending too much on my credit cards every month and I shouldn't have gone on that trip. But they don't see it that way when they come in.
I say to them, how much are you saving? And they say, we're not saving. That's why we're here. We need to save money. And I say, well, what are you doing? And the two kids, the kids are in private school.
Right. They're spending 50 grand a year on private school bill
For
where
one.
they're
For
that's
one.
right. That's
And
true.
when you go to private school, you got to belong to the club and you got to travel to the ski
Yeah.
and you got to go to the beach and you got to do this. Look, if you have enough money where that's just the next thing and there's extra, I'm all for it.
Got it.
But where we started is budgeting. And what I would say is the people that budget generally, my experience, have less money and are more concerned. People with more money just spend it and pay for things and have things. And they don't need to budget. What they need to do is, so I guess there's a difference in terms. Maybe this is it, is semantics. Budgeting to me is I line item everything I spend money on. Okay. For me, what works better is you do all that yourself. You figure out a number. Let's say you spend $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 a month, whatever it is. Great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's make sure that goes into your checking account on the first of the month, every month, and you got that to spend. And I don't care what the heck you spend it on.
Right.
Now,
right.
The rest of what you have goes into working capital. And we got to separate those two. And when it does, I had a call just today with a couple who said to me, so we have a system, an app where people put their paychecks before they spend.
Right. Right.
And then the money for spending goes in there and the reservoir difference stays in savings. And they said to me, we've been doing this a little over a year. I can't believe how much money we've saved. And I said, well, tell me that. And she said, we would have spent it all, except we have to actively go in and take it to spend it instead of it just being in our checking account.
I love that.
So I said, put that on video because I need to tell the world that what we do works in this regard. So, and then they're not wanting for anything. They're spending, I don't know, $7-8 grand a month, but they're building savings because every time they've gotten a raise over the last 18 months, the excess is just sitting in that savings, waiting for us to get together to tell them what to do with it. And the wife said to me, I'd really like a new dining room set. I said, what's it going to cost? She said, not a lot. I said, well, you got to make a decision. Does it fit in the monthly number, $8 grand a month number, or do you need to take it out of the reservoir, in which case, that's less money that's going to go to work.
Right.
And she said, no, we're going to make it fit in the monthly.
That's good. Good answer.
Right. So I find, I will never do the line item budget with people ever. Because I'm not about what you spend money on, but here's what I am about. My goal, so I'm on the other side of that equation.
Yep.
My goal is your gross income is X. I want to get you to the point where you are saving and investing 20+% of gross. If you save and invest 20+% of gross, I don't care what you spend 80% after tax net on. The thing is, most people save 2 or 3%.
Yeah.
They wonder why they can't get ahead. It's because that's not enough. So as long as you're saving sufficiently and investing well, spend the rest. I don't care what you spend it on. I don't care if it's liquor and hookers and whatever. I don't care.
Leonard, was this an acquired taste? There are gifts and there are gifts. The gifts that come easily to people that other people have no idea. And then there's the things that are like you're passionate about. Did this come easily to you?
It's a great question. I've never been asked that. And the answer is I think it absolutely did. So when I was in college, I started in accounting, couldn't deal with the detail and the minutia, had to get out.
Right.
Went into marketing, loved it, but had no idea what I would do with a degree in marketing. And then I took a class in money and banking, University of Baltimore, money and banking. And for the semester, we broke up into teams. I think it was 4 of us or 5 of us, if I remember. And we were given $1 million, $10 million. I don't know what it was. Funny money.
Right.
And we had to run a bank.
Okay.
For the semester. And based on things that happened during the semester with the groups that were in the room and everything, we operated our bank for the semester. And at the end of the semester, it was who had the most successful share value of their bank.
Mm-hmm.
And I appointed myself president of the bank.
Nice.
And I made us a commercial only bank. We didn't want retail customers, consumers. We wanted big commercial, lending, real estate, treasury work, and we crushed it. we laid in a strategy and we crushed it. And I said, this is what I'm going to do.
I love that.
And then I realized after that, the next semester or so, that if you wanted to run a bank, you either had to have a lot of money or be the son of the guy that owned the bank.
I was going to say that.
So I said, guess what? You're not going to be a banker. But I took that and said, I'm going to help people figure out what to do with their money. And it took a while. I started to learn, but here's what I learned that flipped the switch, really flipped the switch. I started in 1987. This was 1992, 3. So 5-6 years in.
Yeah.
I met a guy who said, you don't know what you don't know. And I said, well, of course I don't know what I don't know.
Makes sense.
And he said, what you don't know is all the things you've ever learned and been trained in the beginning to now of your career were taught to you by banks, insurance companies, investment firms.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're teaching you is what makes them the most money. And they tell you it's right for your client. I said, wow, that makes sense. Why would they teach me something that wasn't good for them? But
right.
It absolutely is good for my client. How could it not be? And I spent the next 6 months training, understanding how everything I was taught was backwards.
Well, it seems to me, I mean, you go to someone that only sells life insurance products and they're going to only sell you a life insurance product. They can't sell you anything outside of that. You go to somebody that sells or focuses on annuities. They're not going to sell you stocks and bonds and life insurance. They're going to sell you annuities.
And you go to the guy that sells the stocks and bonds. That's all you're going to get from them. So what I started to learn was what is in the consumer's best interest.
There we go.
And those institutions still have to be utilized, as we started the conversation with. I'm about American dream. I'm about purpose. I'm about people's lives and wealth. But the way that has to happen is through financial.
Right.
And so I had to learn how to implement the financial products of the institutions in a way they didn't necessarily want them implemented. And that's what I learned. And that became so natural because it rang so true that now when I meet somebody who doesn't take what I have to say and implement what I'm telling them to do, I kind of question what the heck's going on, because I know it's right. And it's so frustrating because the common wisdom knowledge is not what I help people do.
So when did you know that the way that you are going to, and you're talking about the difference between being a salesperson and being a fiduciary, right? I mean, is that pretty much what you're sharing? So
100%.
Let's break that word into a definition so people that are in our listening community can understand the difference between being a guy that reps products and somebody that's a fiduciary. So maybe you could share that.
So the difference is a financial representative of any product in the marketplace has to do their job is to do what is suitable. They have a suitability standard. So if you walked into a department store looking for a suit, the sales guy would take one off the rack and put it on you and say, that's nice. We can tailor it a little. That's a nice looking suit.
Right.
If you go to the tailor and get a custom fitted suit, that's a fiduciary. So in the world of finance, if you could buy this investment and it could be good for you or bad for you, but it's reasonable,
right?
I can sell it to you. If I'm a fiduciary, I have to put your interest ahead of anything else, paramount, first and only, and tell you what to do based on that standard and disclose if I'm being compensated for that in any which way, shape, or form, how I'm being compensated, so you can make a clean decision about how to implement financial services. So I advise people on a fee basis. They pay me for my wisdom. They pay me for the advice I give on the subjects we talk about. And you can implement those financial recommendations with anyone, anywhere, insurance, investment, tax. I don't have to sell any of those products
right
for you to produce an outsized result and for me to be paid.
Okay, so do you not represent any products or services? Or if somebody says, "Oh, I like that idea of buying that life insurance or that annuity or that stock and bond," can you then go ahead and sell it to them, or do you have to refer them to somebody? Okay, you can.
In my world, so if I was fee only, purely fee only, I would not do any of that. But I grew up in a world where we did both. And what happens is we make that recommendation of type and amount of insurance or strategy and structure to invest. And then somebody says, I want to do that. I say, great. Do you have somebody in your world that you want to work with to acquire the life insurance or the disability insurance or invest that money with? And if the answer is no, then I can put on my hat and I can go into the marketplace and find the right product that fits whatever that is. Example, in the life insurance space, there's hundreds of companies.
Right.
Anybody can go on the internet and look for life insurance of any type from any company.
Right.
But if you want somebody that can represent what structurally I believe are the best companies in the industry and bring to you the best product to suit what it is you're trying to do, I know who those companies are.
Right. Right.
And I can show you who they are. And you can say, I want company A, B, or C. And it will be, to me, no difference whether you buy from A, B, or C, if ultimately to you they're the same. My compensation from all three is going to be within pennies of each other.
Got it. So a fiduciary,
and if you bought it from the company directly, here's the big thing, big secret people don't know. If you buy it through me or any representative, there's a commission compensation built in.
Right.
So the chassis says you're going to get X amount of return for Y amount of deposit over a certain number of years. And if you buy it directly from the company, the product and everything about it is identical. The only difference is they don't pay me or another representative to represent the product. But they don't give you the difference.
Right.
They keep it.
Understood.
They keep it. So I know who those companies are. I study who those companies are. I study what those products are, and that's what I bring to the table.
Do you feel like, and I think I already know, I know the answer to this already, but I'm going to ask the question anyway, so my audience can hear it. Do you feel like you could be impartial when you do that? Can you represent a product or service and get a commission and still not be beholden to that company for
absolutely. Because what I will do, let's use annuity for instance. I had a couple I was with yesterday, and we were looking at an annuity to pay income guaranteed for the rest of their life. Can't fail, can't go under. You're going to get a check every month, no matter how long you both shall live. Okay. And if you die too young, your family's going to get the money that you would have gotten for a period of years. So there's the only loss is upside. If you live, your family won't get.
Right.
Okay. Simple deal. So I go into the computer. I have this fancy piece of internet software, and I type in all the conditions of what we're trying to accomplish. And I hit a button, submit. And the computer spits out 25 companies that will generate that income for that client. And here's the rating, the way they go. Let's just say the number is X dollars per month for the rest of your life. And company one on the list says, give us $100,000, we'll spit out that income. And company 25 says, give us $130,000, we'll spit out that income. And the 25 are somewhere in between. Is there any reason you should give money to company 25, 130, to get the same thing you can get from company 1, 100?
Not if it's identical. I wouldn't think so.
They're identical.
Then no. Well, why would I spend 25,000 more than I need to?
Because your rep works for company number 25.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I got it.
In my case, I have access to all 25.
Right.
I look at company 1. Company 1 is a great company, strong ratings, everything's good. And I say, Doug, this is the one we should do. Or I do this right in front of you. I'm not doing this in a back office coming out with a black box.
Right.
I say to you, you know what? Company number 1, their financial stability is not as strong as company number 2. It's not even close. And they're $2,000 less up front. So instead of giving them 100, you give company 2 102. and I think you're far better off. And you say to me,
I say, yeah, I'd rather spend the extra for the financial stability of that company.
or you say, I want company one.
Right.
Now, if it's $100,000 going into that annuity, company one or company two, we'll choose it. So let's say we choose company two. I give them your application. We get the annuity. You put 102,000 in, and then 2 weeks later, a check shows up in my bank account as a percentage of the 102.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what that is. No idea. So here's what happens. Company one might be 3.25% or 3.5%. Company two might be 3%. Company four might be 4%. I don't know. I don't care.
Right. Right.
So I have a list. Here they are. The compensation across the industry is fairly standard. But if you work for company seven, you're selling company seven, and that one's $112,000 for the same result.
Right. Right.
I don't have that. I don't work for company one or company 25 or anyone in between. I work for Doug.
So, Nice Guy Community, I told you this was going to be a fun episode. And although we have had many financial planners and advisors and people in the know on the show, I think that, the reason that I gravitate towards Leonard when it comes to his level of enthusiasm is right there. I don't have to talk products and services with Leonard. I talk people, relationships, and community. It's great. It really is great. You got two things I want to promote for you, because I know that these are avenues in which people can get more information about how you do and what you do. You have a best-selling book, and you also have a podcast. They're both of the same title. So share what that is, and we'll put a link in the show notes so people can get both the access to the book and to the podcast as well.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. So the book is Fiduci Who, and it's what a real fiduciary will tell you about how to protect, grow, enjoy, and transfer your wealth. And that's really important, as we've talked about. I have a fiduciary standard. I hold myself to that. I charge fees for the work that I do. I give great advice. And once that advice is given, I help people implement, and I will put our work and recommendations up against anybody, anywhere, anytime, on any basis relative to how I'm compensated for that. Is your question, rightly asks. Right. Can you be objective if? And the answer is, if I can't, you shouldn't work with me.
Agreed.
And the podcast of the same name is Fiduci Who, and we interview executives, professionals, business owners, and talk about not your money. Talk about your life, your business. I want to promote your business. I want to promote your doing and being. And if money comes into the conversation, great. But most people that I talk to on the podcast, we're not talking about their balance sheet or their investments or their insurance. We're talking about their life. What is it that brings them the most joy? How do they have life, work, family balance in their life? What do they do that really juices them? I had a guy I was talking to recently, and I said to him, "What's your most important asset?" And he said, "My family."
Yeah.
If it's not, you're in the wrong room.
Got me right in the feels on that one.
Yeah, you're in the wrong room. This is what it's about. I have a 22-year-old son. He's in Ireland for grad school. We talked about growing up where we grew up. I couldn't have dreamed of going to Ireland. Mm-hmm. Visiting the place. And I have a son who's in grad school there because we were able to send him there, and I was able to visit and go with him and see it. And it's breathtaking. And so the people that I work with, I would invite to my home. And if they think it's too big or too small, that's on them, not me. This is who I am. This is what life's about. And the people that I work with, I want to be really comfortable with, and they've got to be comfortable with me. They're trusting their entire financial future to my care.
Well, as expected, Leonard, you did not disappoint. What a great episode! What a great guy, and enjoy having this conversation and many more in the future. I'm excited to be able to listen to more episodes. I know that the ones that you're still early on in your podcast run, and I'm excited to hear where the journey is going to take you, the relationship that you're going to build. All business relationships, the right ones, start with a good personal relationship too. When you get to be friends with someone, and they trust you, you build that know, like, and trust factor. And you can hear it, Nice Guy Community, when you just listen, even to the first handful of episodes beyond that Leonard has put together. So excited to share your wisdom with our community, and thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, Nice Guy community, never underestimate the power of nice. Again, special thanks to Leonard Raskin. All of his information, including access to his book and the podcast, is right there in the show notes. You know how to get to the show notes. Just click that link. You just got to click the link. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to the show in the meantime. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Seriously, it'll only hurt for a minute. And don't worry, I'll be fine.